to the Saturday Slam and Jam here on the Athletic NBA Daily. On today's show, we're going to give an update on the surprise teams. Dan Devine of Yahoo Sports stops by to discuss the playoffs, and we do a contender draft. But before we get to all of that, Alex, tell me about the top stories this week.
Well, Andrew, our top story this week was the end of the 24-25 regular season. The Phoenix Suns, owners of the league's highest payroll, missed the play-in completely, finishing tied with the Portland Trail Blazers at 36-46. In response, the Suns quickly moved to fire coach Mike Budenholzer, who was only hired last summer. Now, assuming Devin Booker is still a Sun next season, their next coach will be his 8th head coach in 11 NBA seasons. Matt Ishbia met with the media this week and was defiant, promising that the Suns would win championships, quote, with an S at the end. Another word with an S at the end is picks, which the Suns do not have until I'm like 45. The expectation is that Kevin Durant will be traded this summer. And while many have assumed Houston would be a likely suitor, Mark Stein reported this week that a KD trade would be unlikely for the Rockets because he does not fit with the team's timeline. Now, it took all the way until game 82 to decide who would finish the season with the worst record. And this year's reverse champion was the Utah Jazz, who finished with 17 wins, only 3 more than last year's Pistons team. The Jazz secured the worst record after the Wizards got a dramatic win in the final game of the season, a 119-118 win in Miami that ended on an impossible Bub Carrington floater at the buzzer. The Wizards finished the season with an average scoring margin of minus 12.4. That is third worst in NBA history, behind only the 7-win Bobcats and the 92-93 Dallas Mavericks. Now, speaking of the Mavs, as we do every week, some good news finally happened for Mavs fans this week, but not before the Mavericks franchise could make something bad happened first. The day before the Mavs 9-10 play-in game against the Kings, Nico Harrison offered to sit down with the local media for an interview with the stipulation that there would be no cameras or recordings made of the interview. Thankfully, he did not exclude writing utensils, and so the entire interview was still widely available. When asked about Mavs fans' biggest misunderstanding regarding the Luka trade, Harrison said, quote, "Defense wins championships." When asked about how creating a 3 to 4 year window after trading away the team's future first was in the best long-term interest of the team, Harrison said, quote, "Defense wins championships." When asked why he didn't believe the team he built last season, which went to the NBA Finals, was a contender, Harrison said, quote, "Defense wins championships." Somehow, none of those answers were as bad as Mavs CEO Rick Welts comparing the Luka trade to Golden State trading Monte Ellis for Andrew Bogut. The second trade comparison is many weeks from the Mavs, where it's unclear which side of the trade they think they are. Thankfully for Mavs fans, however, the week wasn't all bad, as the Mavs completely demolished the Kings in Sacramento, getting up by as many as 25 points before coasting to the win. Now, 2 years after ending their 16-year playoff drought, the Kings lost to the Mavs, locked in their second consecutive season, missing the playoffs. The Kings responded by agreeing to part ways with GM Monte McNair, quickly hiring Scott Perry as GM, who was previously in the Kings front office and was most recently with the Knicks. The Athletic Sam Amick reported that McNair didn't want to fire Mike Brown, which is why we didn't see anything from the Kings after Brown was fired. Amick also reported that McNair may have not been behind either the DeRozan signing or the LaVine trade. Now, LaVine's old team, the Chicago Bulls, are also out of the playoffs after similarly getting destroyed by a 10 seed at home. The good news, though, for Bulls fans is they will have their first round pick because they acquired the unprotected part of that pick back in the LaVine trade. So, as of Friday morning, we know the matchups for 2 more playoff series. In the East, the 2-7 matchup is going to be between the Celtics and the Magic after Orlando beat Atlanta in a game during which Trae Young was ejected after picking up 2 quick techs for pranking the refs. After throwing an aggressive chest pass to one ref, he immediately did the trick where you pretend to pass it to someone, spin it back to yourself when the other ref asks for the ball. He was ejected, but, honestly, after the ref's performance in the Warriors-Grizzlies game, maybe they need to be pranked once in a while. Because Warriors-Grizz, it was a close contest. It came down to a 5-second call on an inbounds play at the end of the game that ended up ending the game. It set up a Golden State-Houston 2-7 matchup in the West. But the 2-minute report revealed that in those final 120 seconds, the refs made 4 separate errors in the game. Now, the 1-8 matchups will be decided on Friday night, all leading to the first day of the NBA playoffs on Saturday. Listen to this. on Saturday, we get Bucks, Pacers, Nuggets, Clippers, Pistons, Knicks, and Lakers, Wolves. Woo!
Wow.
That is a Saturday. And those are the top stories this week.
Wow. What a week. What a week right before the playoffs. Just so many unnecessary things happening from NBA owners this week. It was almost too good. Al, let's give a surprise team update. And this surprise team update is brought to you by our good friends at BetMGM.
Yes, this is very exciting because last year we didn't have any surprise teams. That doesn't happen that often. In fact, since the 99-2000 season, there's only been 4 seasons without at least one surprise team. But we were spoiled this year because we ended up getting 3 surprise teams. And as a reminder, that is a team who won at least 10 more games than their over-under. So who got it this season? Detroit. Obvious. Over-under was 24.5. They won 44 games. That gap, 19.5 games, that is tied for the second biggest gap among all surprise teams going back to the 99-2000 season. In fact, one of the teams they are tied with for second is the 01-02 Detroit Pistons. This was Carlisle's first year as coach. The team had Ben Wallace, Jerry Stackhouse. They similarly had a 19. They won 19.5 more games than their over/under. The other 2 teams, Portland Trailblazers, over/under preseason 22.5, end up winning 36 games. Very impressive. And then, in what I would say is like the least surprising surprise team ever, the Chicago Bulls, 27.5 preseason over/under. They win 39 games. Now, for all these teams, I do the difference between their previous year wins and their current year wins. Never been a surprise team that the number was 0, where the Bulls end up being a surprise team despite winning the exact same amount of games they had scored in the previous season, which is just a great stat for the Bulls. And I feel like is very representative of the season the Bulls had. So those are 3 surprise teams. Very exciting. I don't know how me and Andrew managed to not pick any of those 3 teams.
Did a very bad job.
We did. And shout out to the listener again who made us the surprise team website, which you can go look at tinyurl.com/surprise teams. Now, one more thing, Andrew, before we get to our guest this week, back right around the All-Star game, we picked a few names who we thought might make a post-All-Star break leap. And I wanted to do a first and second team all post-All-Star break leaps. Mm-hmm. It's a mouthful. So my second team, Shaedon Sharpe, one of my picks. Zachary Richardson, Steph Castle, Aaron Nesmith, and Cade Cunningham. That's my second team. Okay. First team, I'm going to go in a little bit more depth. First, we got Quentin Grimes, which was also one of my picks. He had maybe the funniest pre to post splits. 11-4-2 pre, 23-5-5 post All-Star break.
What?
What's really funny, though, is if you look at net rating, like how the team played when he was on the court, pre All-Star break, minus 0.6. Post All-Star break, minus 14.6 because he was playing on the Sixers, of course.
Wow.
Now, his true shooting percentage basically was unchanged. This was just a guy, which actually is very impressive because he got a lot more usage and he was still able to maintain his efficiency. Quentin Grimes might just be a good player. So it'll be very interesting to see what he gets this summer. Second name, Denny Avdia. We talk about him a lot. Pre-All-Star break, 15-6-3. Post-All-Star break, 23-10-5. His net rating swing, minus 5.2 to plus 5.8. He was huge. And then some names that I just wasn't thinking of. We're going to get to an obvious name, but some names I wasn't thinking of. Tyrese Halliburton. Now, if you just look at the counting stats, it doesn't seem that significant. 18-4-9 to 21-4-11. But his true shooting went from 59% to 68% post All-Star break. And the net rating swing went to plus 1.2 to plus 12.7. He was obviously a big part of the Pacers being one of the better second half teams in the league. Another name I wasn't really thinking about, Paolo Banchero. Pre All-Star break, 23-7-5. Post All-Star break, 29-8-5. His true shooting jumped from 51% to 58%. And in case you're wondering, Average true shooting this year was around 57.5. So Paulo, post All-Star break, got his true shooting, his efficiency above average. And his net rating swing went from minus 6.7 to plus 4.6. And then the last name, the one you're expecting, also an insane jump. Josh Giddey, 12, 7, and 6 to 21, 11, and 9. Similarly, his true shooting, 54% to 62%. And his net rating swing, minus 6.5 to plus 9.9. So once again, our first team, Josh Giddey, Paul Banchero, Tyrese Halliburton, Denny Avdia, and Quentin Grimes. So congrats to all those guys.
In hindsight, they all make sense. But at the time, there wasn't a ton of confidence that Josh Giddey was like going to turn this ship around, you know?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, looking at it now, you're like, how can I be so dumb not to pick him? You know? That is definitely how it felt. Okay. We are going to take a quick break. And after this, we're going to talk to our guy, Dan Devine from Yahoo Sports. We'll be right back. All right, Al, it is my pleasure to welcome Dan Devine onto the show from Yahoo Sports. He writes, he does podcasts.
That's
really excited to have
those two things. No more.
Do not expect anything else.
That's right.
Okay.
I don't bake. I'm not a great knitter. Yeah, this is it. I write a podcast.
Do you bake, by the way?
I have baked before. I wouldn't say at like a high level.
Okay.
But you know, if you want like a big cookie that looks like a pie or something, I can do that. I can do like a simple thing that's got some chocolate chips in there. A banana bread. I can give you a banana bread. Won't be like the best one you ever had, but I can get in there. The point is writing, podcasting somewhere far below that baking.
Okay. You mentioned it as if you were slightly insulted that I didn't mention it. So
I'm a little bit mad. I'm starting the conversation angry.
Yeah. So let's keep it angry and talk about these 2 9 seeds who were both convincingly beaten at home by the 10 seeds. For Chicago, they beat their preseason over-under by 11.5 games. Was there anything that you saw this season from the Bulls that gives you hope that they can get off this treadmill of mediocrity anytime soon?
I love that in his post-season presser, Arturas Karnisovas said that. He was like, I think you guys predicted us for 28. We went 39. So actually it's like, we did it, guys. It's, hang the banner, mission accomplished right behind me. So, all right, we'll start with the positive. I think that there's a lot to be excited about with Matas Buzelis. I think that he was deeply unscared for a 20-year-old who had been playing in G League Ignite last year. That's good. He showed a way that he can impact winning. He can attack the basket. There's stuff to get excited about with him. That's cool. The Josh Giddey question is the fact that you shot 38% from 3 on decent volume. Is that the new normal or an outlier? Because you didn't do that before and now you did it. So if that's the new normal, then paying you becomes more palatable and then you're maybe an easier person to build around. I'm a little skeptical of that. I think there's reason to be skeptical of it, but what we saw, we knew that he would put up numbers given the ball. I think he was 3rd or 4th in the league in touches per game after the Levine trade. So they cleared the runway and he took the ball and he ran with it. That's a mixed metaphor, but he could shoot too now. And so if he can keep doing that, that's good. But the big thing to me is this feels like an inflection point because you've got some decisions to make financially. You move off the DeRozan contract, you move off the Zach LaVine contract. And if I'm looking at Spot Track correctly, after next season, they're set up to have Nikola Vucevic, Kevin Huerter, Zach Collins, Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, and Javon Carter all come off the books after next season. And they got a club option on Lonzo. So you could clear everything off and say, we're going to start fresh. And this is an opportunity for us to say, what kind of teams we want to be? What's the identity of a team we want to build? And what I think they're going to do is pay Josh Giddey a lot of money, extend Kobe White, maybe extend Ayo Dosunmu, not have a center after next year, and kind of keep chasing 38 wins. And so that's the part that I'm worried about. I think there's an opportunity for a big vision. I just don't know that I see it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think we are both worried in the same way for Bulls fans. Yeah. So the other 9 seed, Sacramento Kings. Their season only ended on Wednesday. They already have fired their GM, mutually agreed to part ways with GM Monty McNair, hired a new GM, Scott Perry. Now, subsequent reporting has come out from Sam Amick that McNair didn't want to fire Mike Brown. He also may have not been too keen on adding DeRozan or Zach LaVine. What were your thoughts on the events of the last few days in Sacramento?
Oh, my first thought was, I like Sam a lot. I'm a friend of Sam's. I don't know who Sam's sources are. I would never deign to ask. But if I was Monty McNair, I might want it to be out there that none of that stuff was my idea. So don't blame me as I'm on the way out the door.
Right.
That's the first thing I thought. I was like, I wonder if Monty McNair was the one who made that phone call. And then the other thought I had was, it's an old movie, so forgive me, but Copland, the movie Copland, I think Brian De Palma directed it, Robert De Niro. Oh no, James Mangold, maybe. Robert De Niro. He's an internal affairs detective, and Sylvester Stallone comes to him like, hey, I didn't help you before. I want to help you now. And De Niro says in so many words, you had a chance and you blew it. There was an opportunity here. You had an identity. I just talked about the identity thing with the Bulls. You had a style of play. You had a way things were. You got the fans excited. It was resonating. There was a beam. There was a whole thing. And but it was also we understand this might not win us a championship, but it's good and it's cool and we're excited about it. And in 18 months, you just completely trash canned all of it. And I don't get why. I don't for who, for what. I can, in a vacuum, in the individual decisions, you need more talent because last year you were about the same level of team, but the West got better. You needed more talent. DeMar DeRozan is talented. He might have been the best player you could get. I get it. You were flailing and not as good as you hoped you'd be, and you'd lost a couple of games, including one embarrassingly at the end. You fire Mike Brown. I don't love it, but I get it. And now you're at the point where De'Aaron Fox wants out because you kind of hung that whole thing around his neck. So, okay, you make a trade and you get back an all-star scorer in Zach LaVine. And you're like, okay, I get it. But vision. What are we trying to build? Are we trying to build a previous failure version of the Bulls plus Domantas Sabonis? And then for what? So I look at it and I just say the bad teams stay bad a lot of times because the people making decisions feel like they're just cats chasing a laser pointer, and they don't have a goal in mind really. And it would bum me out a lot if the beam was just the universe's biggest laser pointer.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. That's almost too good.
Again, guys, I don't bake, but I write and I podcast. That's right. So here we go. Listen, I got this for you.
The guy can write and he can podcast.
I was wondering because, Domantas Sabonis, he was asked about what this team needs in his exit interview. He said,
yes, he was.
The biggest thing is this team needs a point guard. He was very direct about that. Are there any because they've kind of boxed themselves in a little bit by taking on this LaVine contract. Are there any realistic point guard targets that you can think of that might be a good fit for this team?
Everybody knows this, but it's worth saying out loud into a microphone. Being here 3 years after you had both De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton feels insane. Just bananas, monkey paw kind of stuff. This isn't an answer. It's not a long-term solution, but I have this thing that I love, and I have loved for the recent years. It's kind of like Chris Paul is basically like an itinerant preacher spreading the gospel of good basketball across the NBA landscape 1 year at a time.
Yeah.
What if and Chris Paul has said he's I don't know, I'll think about it this offseason, but I think I might want to keep playing. If he wants to leave San Antonio, and I would totally be fine if he didn't, but say he's no, I'll go back to California. It's a 45-minute flight back to my home. What if you gave Chris Paul the mid-level exception and we're fix it or organize us, figure out how to get everybody where they go, mentor Devin Carter and Keon Ellis and show everybody where to stand and what they're supposed to do when they get there. And then when in a year when you've made your 13 million or whatever, and you hear the sound of someone else calling you from, another state across the NBA landscape, you put your bindle on your shoulder and you keep walking out that way. I like the idea of you need somebody who is just an organizing principal who's I don't need to be the guy scoring everything. I mean, you had the scorer and you let him go. You had the guy who was just instant injection of offensive efficiency. You moved him because you needed to decongest the logjam and give a team to one person. All right, who just organizes it and says, you go there, I get you shots. I teach you how to screen for me. I teach you how to work the other end of it. We work from there. I think that makes some sense. And also maybe just gets Sabonis a lot of easy, like pocket pass buckets. And he likes that. The lower wattage, not as exciting version of that is like, if you can get like a buy low Tyus Jones to do a similar kind of job, like organize, don't really get in the way too much, hit some shots when the ball comes to you, high turnover or high efficiency, high assist, low turnover, maybe, but like, I don't know, maybe I'm missing the big swing, but it seems like there's not really anybody in their price range or with their asset collection that is going to like completely revolutionize everything. So yeah, Chris Paul, basketball preacher. Let's do it.
I love that idea, especially, I mean, he played all 82 games for the Spurs. Yeah. So
yes.
you're feeling good going into it. It's not like you feel like, oh my gosh, this guy's, I mean, he is very old, but he just proved to us that he can still do it. So I just love that idea.
I want more decision makers with gray beards. I mentioned this on the Big Number with Tom Haberstroh. Like one of my favorite things about LeBron and Draymond this year is that they're just like embracing it, like full gray beard. I need more guys doing that. And I feel like Chris Paul doesn't seem like he's in danger of that, but maybe we get to salt and pepper in year 40, 41. So that's part of my my self-motivation for that one.
All right, let's move on from these losers and talk about some playoff matchups.
I thought you were going to kick me out. All right, let's move on from these losers. Dan. See you later, Dan.
Since you're not as good at baking as I thought you were, please get out. So let's talk about these four matchups that we know about. Nuggets, Clippers, Lakers, Wolves, Pacers, Bucks, and Knicks, Pistons. Is there a series that you have like changed your mind on over the last week, or one that you're just like going back and forth with?
Yeah, to me, it's Clippers, Nuggets, and it's not, I don't know that there's like a nitty gritty, like I was deep in the film and I thought of this, like, I think the Clippers are better, and I think they've been a better team for like 2.5 months, basically since Kawhi got to like full minute load, which was I think the beginning of February or right around the trade deadline. Mm-hmm. They've just been better. Like they've been awesome. I think they finished with like 18 of 21. Like they've been really good for like 2.5 months now, and the Nuggets haven't. I mean, see Michael Malone and Calvin Booth, but they have Jokic, and so like I think all of the matchup components point to the Clippers, but then I'm like, there is no matchup. There's no answer for Jokic. So to me, I look at it. I think you can. That's a coin flip to me, but that's the one I look at. I'm like, you're going to be wrong, kind of no matter what. So, but then again, we're in the MVP season where you're wrong no matter what you do anyway. So at least we can just like I can sit and live in that wrongness no matter what. It's great. I love it. I love the way this feels.
Yeah. So on the flip side, ignoring Boston, Orlando, because I'm assuming you feel pretty confident about that series.
Yeah, Magic at 4.
Are any of these, yes, exactly. Are any of these other series like you feel just locked in, like you feel like it's a particularly good matchup for one of these teams?
No.
Okay.
This is like, I lack my confidence in this, but it's weird. It's the other way for me, because I feel like I'm seeing and hearing a lot of confidence in the Knicks to kind of like pat the Pistons on the head and dispense with them. And I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be quite so easy. I feel like I'm hearing and reading a lot of Knicks in 5, and that feels to me much more like Knicks in 7 or maybe even Pistons in 6. Like, I think the concern that I would have if I was a Knicks fan was, do you have an answer for Cade Cunningham in the pick and roll? Like, he destroyed Karl Anthony Towns, Precious Achiuwa, whoever was playing center for the Knicks in drop. Every time they played, he was awesome. He hit like 52% of his threes. He walked into pull-ups. When the big came up, he just dropped a pocket pass or a lob to Isaiah Stewart or Jalen Duren. Like, he has the answers to that test. Do the Knicks have another test to give to him? I'm not so sure about that. And so that's the one that gives me pause. I feel like I'm seeing a lot of confidence in that, and I do not share it. But maybe I'm too low relative to consensus there.
Well, Dan, it's now time for an intermission. We're going to ask you some more questions, but we're taking a short break to play a game, sort of. It's a championship draft. Okay, so we like to do this every week during the playoffs just to kind of get a read on how we're feeling about all these teams. So I'm going to show you what is now appearing on the screen for Dan is a beautiful Excel spreadsheet that I made with all the teams. And just in case you're out there wondering, yes, those are all the accurate team colors. I did pull them from the internet. They're all correct.
Wow, look at
Yes,
that.
thank you very much.
Out here pulling the Pantone out on folks. It's incredible.
That's right. So the way this is going to work, we're only going to do 3 rounds. So we're only going to pick 9 teams total. And the goal for this is to genuinely pick the teams that you think have the best chance to win the title. Okay. So it is a snake draft though. So if you're in the 1 spot, you draft 1 and then you have to wait a while. If you're in the 3 spot, you get 3 and 4. So Dan, because you're a guest, I'm going to let you choose which spot would you like to draft from?
You know what? I'll take the hot corner. I'll take the 3rd.
Okay. Andrew, where would you like to draft from? 1st or 2nd?
I'll take 2nd.
All right, great. So you guys want me to go first?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Well, I had a feeling this would happen, and I'm already locked in, and it is the Boston Celtics.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, I am a Thunder fan, but I think the West is obviously much harder than the East. And if I'm just going based on what team I think is most likely to make the finals, I feel like I'm going to go with Boston. Obviously, Cleveland's a great team. They're a great team. But I think even if it got to the point where it was Boston OKC in the finals, I still think I would lean Boston just because they've done it before, because they're going into this playoffs healthy. That makes me feel good about them. So I'm starting off with Boston, which means, Andrew, I have a pretty good idea of who you're going to pick second.
You have now cornered me into being the homer, which is great. I knew you were going to do this. I knew you were going to do this after I decided to go second. I was like, oh no, I'm going to have to be the one to say it. Oklahoma City Thunder, plus 12.7 net rating, 68 games. I mean, there's like so many. They've got the MVP. They have one of the deepest rosters in the NBA. The bracket, if you look at it, has broken pretty well for OKC too. So yeah, I think you got to go with the Thunder.
And Dan,
it's a bold pick.
the number 1 team. So bold. Spicy.
Now, Dan, before you answer, in case anyone isn't watching on YouTube, if you wanted to pick, because we're recording this on Friday, if you wanted to pick one of the 8 seeds, you can get 2 for 1 here. Okay, I'll give you Memphis and Dallas, or the Hawks and the Heat. It's up to you. So I just let you know, putting that out there.
The flavor that you gain outweighs the risk. No, I appreciate the offer, but I'm gonna steer clear of that one.
No.
The value wise, I'll take the Cavs with my first choice here.
Now it gets spicy.
It does, because I'm looking. And Andrew, you brought up the bracket, the way it's fallen, and I would say I don't feel super confident or super great about any of this. So I'm going to go with, you know what? I have to go with the courage of my convictions, with what I wrote. I started with it in my preview of this series. I'm going to take the Golden State Warriors. I'm going to take.
Okay.
Talk to me.
Because
Talk to me about this.
I think they're going to beat the Rockets. And I think that whichever team comes out of Lakers, Wolves, I like Golden State in the matchup against either one of those teams. I think that I think in a small ball series against the Lakers, I think the Warriors have answers to those questions. I think in a high stakes, who do you trust more in a 7-game series against a Wolves team that's like Ant and then Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle and on and on and on. You know, shouts out to Mike Conley. No shade to the legend. I think the Warriors, I could see a path. So if I'm having to pick, like, I don't like either Nuggets or Clippers over Thunder. I don't like either Pacers or Bucks over Cavs. And I'm kind of like cannibalizing myself there since I just took the Cavs. So my like long shot here, or my other gambit, my moonshot would be the Warriors kind of making it all the way through. So we're going to go with that.
I do agree with you on the second round matchups, because I've even read like from Lakers fans that they don't love the matchup with the Warriors. What do you think about that first round matchup? Like, are you pretty confident in the Warriors going against Houston?
It's not so much that well, what's the right way to phrase it? I don't want it to be like a denigration of the Rockets. It's as much as it is that that, like, I have like one of my boomer takes is like, I have to see you do it once to believe it. And I've seen Steph and Draymond and Kerr deal with the bigger, more athletic, more physical team and find answers and break them down over the course of a 7-game series. And I've seen Jimmy just tilt a matchup against a favorite. I've seen those things more often. I also saw, I mean, I think one thing we're kind of that I've been surprised. I've seen it, like, I haven't seen as much conversation about it. Like, the Warriors did this 2 years ago or 3 years ago to Ime Udoka. Like, this was the story of that Celtics finals, was that, like, by the end, the bigger, more athletic, younger, stronger, more physical team was broken by guarding Steph for 2 weeks. And so, like, past performance does not guarantee future results, but I look at that and I'm like, I've seen this work this way. And so I'd rather bet on that than the other way. But of course, in 2 weeks, I could just be looking like a complete jackass. But what else is new?
All right, Andrew, who would you like for your second pick? Still a lot of good names on the board. What a great playoffs.
There's still some good names. I think I'm going to take the Lakers.
Yeah.
With this spot. You have LeBron James and Luka Doncic on this team, like two of the better decision makers. And you just see this very often. Like, teams are going to pack the paint against this team, and it's about finding the corners. And you have like two of the best minds in the game that will get all the way to the rim, and they will make a move that looks like a shot, but then they will just zip it to the corner. And it's so impressive. And now it's on the shoulders of these guys to hit shots from the corners for sure. But if they can get hot, similar to what the Mavericks did last year, then you're going to have a chance to make a run. I do worry about their size on the interior, and they've done a really good job of packing the paint with lots of guys and doing a lot of recovery stuff, similar to OKC. I think that JJ Redick has talked so much about how he's such a big fan of Mark Daigneault, and you start to see like some of the stuff that Mark does and some of the stuff the Lakers are doing. And so I wonder about the sustainability of their defense. We've seen it like wax and wane over the last like stretch after they got Luka. Has been really strong, and then they've had weeks where it's not looked good at all. And so I just wonder, for a sustained playoff run, can they actually keep it together for that long? Because it's so taxing on all these guys. Like Jared Vanderbilt is going to be just completely worn out by the end of this thing. But I do wonder about that. But if they can keep the defense up, you obviously have two guys that can deliver in clutch moments. I think that this, to me, is the next best team. And they also don't have to play OKC until the conference finals. And so you just never know. If you can get there, you just never know.
Well, you guys have set this up beautifully for me, because Dan mentioned that he was struggling most with Nuggets Clippers. That's the series that I'm struggling the most with. So I don't even have to decide. I can just take both of them. Nuggets Clippers. I'm guaranteed one of my teams will make it past the first round.
That's a really good point. I know. I'll note for the record that you didn't present that as an option when you gave me the play-in teams. You said, you can get 4 teams for the price of 2. You didn't suggest I take the both ends of a series. I see how this goes. You bring in the guest and then you treat them like garbage. I see how it works.
There is some strategy to this. I just feel like either of these teams, if OKC has like a cold shooting series, I think either of these teams could beat OKC. As of right now, I'm more scared of the Clippers because they've always had a good defense, and now it feels like their offense is starting to click with Kawhi playing a lot better. And then with the Nuggets, like if that starting lineup's healthy and they're all playing close to 40 minutes a night, like that's a really good team. I know that they've like stumbled down the stretch, fired their coach, fired their GM, but if those 5 are healthy, that is going to be a really good lineup in the playoffs. So I'm still nervous about both of those teams, and I know that one of them's going to make it to the second round. So that's my final pick. Andrew, who's your final pick? Now you got to really start working. Now you got to really start coming up with some good reasons for some of these teams.
Yeah. There's some rough ones left. I think, and I do not feel confident about saying these next words. Okay. I think I'm going to take the Milwaukee Bucks.
Interesting.
If only because of Giannis Antetokounmpo, who has had a ridiculous season. He has been so good. And with the good news of Dame returning to the lineup sometime soon, I think that you just have a puncher's chance, I think, out in the Eastern Conference. And we know that if you get Giannis to the finals, even if he gets severely hurt, he's just going to somehow come back and be amazing. So I'll go with the Bucks. I do not have any sort of like true conviction about this Milwaukee Bucks team or the way that they've been coached this year. But when you have a guy who has clearly been the third best player this season in the NBA, and probably in a normal season would be the best player in the NBA, I have to give it to him. So I'll go Milwaukee.
So Dan, this sets up your final pick. Which fan base would you like to give a glimmer of hope to?
Well, the first thing I just want to say, because I get where you're coming from with the Giannis pick, or the Bucks, but really a Giannis pick. Giannis and Dame on the floor together, about 2,700 possessions this year, plus 5.4 points per 100. So not like, good, but not like great.
Sounds like a stat from an amateur baker to me. Okay,
that's right. I don't know ball. I barely know baking. So I was prepared even before the Dame stuff to pick the Pacers in that series anyway. So I'm going to take the Indiana Pacers on the other side of this bet for a couple of reasons. One, it's wonderful news to hear that Damian Lillard, the situation with the blood clotting appears to have resolved. I'm not entirely clear on how that has happened, but I hope it has, and I hope everyone stays safe and healthy. It's still not totally clear when he comes back in the series and at what level. He hasn't played in several weeks, and you're throwing him right into the fire in a playoff series against a team that's really good. And I think that the Pacers, because people sort of glaze over when they see Indiana, I think they maybe don't realize that's a 50-win team that, though, if the version of them you think you know is the one from last year, this one's not the same. This one plays defense and better than you remember them. They're not quite as fast, they're not quite as elite offensively, but they're better balanced. And Tyrese Halliburton has been about as good in the second half of the season as he was in the first half of last year, when everyone was like, is he going to make All-NBA first team? Yeah. Plus, they've really worked out the offensive balance with Pascal Siakam, who has one of the better All-NBA cases that nobody's talking about, and he's not going to make it, but he's been really, really good this year. They are deep. They go and they use that depth because they pressure you all over the floor. I feel like Dame's going to come back and have to like deal with Andrew Nembhard 94 feet for, or TJ McConnell or Andrew Neesmith. Like they're just going to keep, or Aaron Neesmith rather, they're just going to keep throwing bodies at you. Ben Shepherd is going to get shifts. Like they have guys they can just keep throwing at you. And Giannis is probably going to average like 34 and 18 in the series, but I think the Pacers are just a better team top to bottom both ways. And so I think if they get past the Bucks, this is the part that I don't love, because I did pick the Cavs with my first choice.
This is good. You're guaranteeing a conference finalist.
See, here we go again. I don't know strategery, but right. It would get me as a conference finalist. And if you told me that the Cavs fell short because the Pacers beat them in a 7-game series, it would not stun me. So I feel like I'm getting both ends of that. I'm staying away from the part where I've got to pick somebody who's not the Celtics out of the bottom half of that bracket. It gives me an opportunity there. So there we go. There's my Indiana pitch. The people of Indiana, of course, have always loved me and supported me. And so here I am providing that same love and support to them.
All right. Well, thank you for playing that game with us, Dan. But it's now time to get back to questions. Okay.
Serious business now. No more games.
Yeah, that was just an intermission.
Come on.
Now, over at Yahoo, you and Ben Rohrbach, you did a preview looking at one key matchup in each series. Which of those key matchups are you most interested in seeing play out over the next couple weeks?
Well, first, can I give you like a little behind the curtain on the content game? What we really did was Ben and I wrote previews for each series, and then our bosses like subdivided apart from each of the previews and made that into a different piece of content, like in the thing from The Big Short, where it's like yesterday's fish becomes tomorrow's soup. But yes, we did do that. We did all that work for real. It just was split up twice. And I'm going to give shouts out to Ben, because Ben doesn't get enough shouts out, and he wrote the Lakers Wolves preview. I think his point of like Anthony Edwards versus wherever they think the weakest link on that defense is, I think that's going to be fascinating. You guys just talked about the lack of interior defensive half, but also, we've seen like the last playoff series we saw Luka Doncic in. the Celtics put him under the microscope over and over again. And yeah, I mean, that was not why the Celtics won that series, but we saw that be a strategy to go against Luka with that, right? We've seen Austin Reeves get put under the microscope by teams when they're looking for a place to poke at. We've seen, LeBron James is 40 years old, and I don't think they're going to like try to run pick and roll at LeBron. But what does Chris Finch have in mind? What was that Wolves offense have in mind for making him work, for finding the weak spots? Can they shoot enough, as you mentioned, with the paint packing? Are they going to be able to like take them out of that and find some ways for Ant to actually get downhill and get to the paint? I think that the way they're going to manipulate that or try to work with that, I'm really interested to see how that works, what they think their best pathway to points is, and just focusing on Ant more specifically. We've talked already. There's been the discussion of he struggles with double teams. If you blitz him, you crank up the heat on him, you trap him. He doesn't want to really get off the ball. He wants to get downhill and score, right? Like, yeah, and if I could do that, like Anthony Edwards could do that, I would want to do that too. But this is like in the hero's journey of a player. Like, you make the playoffs, you then make your run in the playoffs. You run up against your sort of your weak link, your Achilles heel, and then you got to show that you can sort of evolve with it. So if that's what the Lakers are going to do, if they're going to throw two at him, if they're going to try to blitz it out of his hands, try to make somebody else beat him, is he patient enough for that? Does he trust it enough? Can those teammates reward that trust? Does this become a series where instead of Ant scoring 40 every night, Ant's getting 9 assists a night? I don't know, but I'm interested to see what questions the Lakers make him answer and what his answers for it are. So that's the one that I'm sort of most interested in from the group that we put together.
Let's talk about maybe the biggest snub from our little draft here, the Knicks.
Yes.
The Knicks did go 1-3 against Detroit in the regular season. Mitchell Robinson did not play in any of those matchups, however. How big of a factor do you think that he could be in this series?
I think he could be a really big factor. I talked about the struggles that they've had in the pick and roll against Cade Cunningham. Mitch is way better at like being up toward the level and has the wingspan to play to be able to influence the ball handler without losing track of the big rolling behind him, and to be able to like time out the pass and get up to deflect it. Cat's not so great at that stuff. He's obviously he's like better athletically overall, but that specific version of applying his length and his size and his physicality never been his strong suit. And Mitchell Robinson, before he got hurt last season, was having the best defensive season of his career, not because he was blocking so many shots, but because, as your colleague Fred Katz wrote at The Athletic, he was just playing that like ground bound. I'm keeping you from getting to comfortable places and forcing like foul line floaters and jumpers that are lower percentage shots. Like, he's really good at that. He has looked healthy since he came back. He's down in weight too. I think he's playing at like 269, 270, he had said, which he was up in near 290 when he came back last year and clearly wasn't moving as well. If he's able to play, stay healthy, play at that level and play increased minutes, that could really be helpful at the specific problem that the Knicks have had defensively. The other thing is, on the offensive end, he's one of the best offensive rebounders in the league. He made a previous JB Bickerstaff team in Cleveland absolutely miserable a few years ago in the first round series that they played by just being a relentless offensive rebounder. If they play two bigs, which is something that it's funny because Tom Thibodeau loves doing it, but he has not loved doing it with this team. Maybe it's just because he didn't try, they're keeping Mitch on a pitch count, not necessarily wanting to exhaust that in the regular season. If they're able to play two bigs and have Cat space and then Robinson attacking the glass, that could be a big problem for a Pistons team that's not a great defensive rebounding team. Could put, maybe some more fouls on Isaiah Stewart, some more fouls on Jalen Duren, more pressure on that front court, and you create extra possessions. You tilt the possession game in your favor. That's a way. The Knicks were very, very good at that before. This has not really been their identity this season, but it's a wild card and a trick up their sleeve that I think it'll be interesting to see how much they play.
I wanted to go back to Wolves-Lakers because you mentioned Wolves offense versus Lakers defense. I'm really interested in the other side because the Wolves defense, not as elite as they were last year, but we've seen individual games where that defense has looked just as terrifying as it was last year. I mean, Thunder fans will remember a game right before the All-Star break where Rudy Gobert, Julius Randle were out, and they played these small ball lineups that were just terrifying defensively. And so I'm interested in your thoughts on how they match up defensively against this Lakers team.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because I think that one of the big like talking points in recent years of NBA playoff discourse, what a lovely thing, is like, well, Gobert gets played off the floor against teams that go small. And that has never totally been true, and has always been more based on the very loud highlights of teams hitting threes against him when he's tried to cover everybody, or Luka doing it and then cursing at him in 4 different languages at the end of last year's game. So I think if you're talking about them playing a lot of like Jared Vanderbilt and Rui Hachimura and, guys, or Jackson Hayes, obviously, but if the Lakers go smaller, there's still places that I think Rudy Gobert can guard. I think he can like stay in the corner, or, it's a little bit of like, I'm going to make Rui Hachimura shoot me out of this. I'm going to make Jared Vanderbilt like back cut and dunk me out of this. And I think that's interesting to me. Like if Chris Finch, they still finished 6th in points allowed per possession. They were right there in terms of their defensive efficiency over the full season. It hasn't felt like it, but they were there all season. And then if they do go smaller, like what do those lineups look like? Randall kind of never played 5 in New York. Like Tibbs really didn't trust it. He didn't trust the rebounding of it. He didn't trust, even when they did bring in OG Anunoby, they only overlapped very briefly. But like when you did have a guard your yard kind of guy, he really didn't trust it too much. So is Finch more willing to go with it if he sees like this is a way for us to spread the floor, but also match up physically with a lot of like 6'8" burly guys? I think the point of attack defenders, obviously, Jaden McDaniels is fantastic. Anthony Edwards can be fantastic when he dials it up. The concern to me will be a little bit less of like, what do you do about Gobert, and maybe what do you do about Mike Conley? Because I think that's a button where they're going to look at him and say, that is the smallest guy on the court. He is going to be put into every screen and roll for Luka, for LeBron. We're going to try to hunt him and punish him. Dante DiVincenzo is a pretty interesting answer for that, right? Like that's a guy who's bigger and is more rugged and can handle himself on some of those switches. But then you're taking you're taking your best playmaker, your steadiest pair of hands off the floor. And we know how tough crunch time has been for the Milwaukee offense and how they've gone through the lulls where they struggle to score and get good shots up. So it's a cat and mouse game, and it's going to be, the game of whack-a-mole. Can you hit something hard enough that we got to react to it and take something that helps us off the table? Then how do we respond to it? I think that's a pretty fascinating question. But Finch has also been pretty comfortable saying like there's no sacred cows on this team, right? Like if we need, outside of Ant, basically, if we need to put somebody on the bench because we think it gives us the best chance of winning that possession in that game, like he'll do it. So whether that's Conley, whether that's Gobert, what that needs to be, I think they're at a point where they're saying, it's all hands on deck. This is a really brutal matchup against 2 of the most difficult guys to game plan against in the world. And, whatever gives us the best chance on any given night, I think that's what we're going with.
We discussed the Warriors, but we really didn't talk about Houston, who is one of the weirdest teams. And like, that might be why we don't want to talk about them, just because they don't have like the formula that most like winning playoff teams have, but they're the number 2 seed. They've had a great season. They have clear identity. If you were to give Houston, like let's say Houston makes it through round 1, what gets them there?
Defense and physicality to start with, right? Like, Ime Udoka basically built the whole plane out of Ime Udoka's attitude. This is like the black box version, the concentrate of we beat the heck out of you. We make you feel us on every possession, and we are attitudinally disposed to just like make you hurt every possession. And to be able to do it with Dylan Brooks and Amen Thompson and Tari Eason off the bench. Fred VanVleet, no picnic to deal with the point of attack, even though he's small, he is handsy and he's a fire hydrant. And Şengün deserves a ton of credit for the improvements he's made. Like, if he wasn't improving on the defensive end, if he wasn't somebody that Udoka trusted to play big minutes constantly, like he wouldn't have gotten to the point where he was making all-star teams, going to be an all-NBA consideration, all that stuff. Like, you're a top 4 defense with him playing that minutes load. He's doing something right. I think the reason they're so weird and so difficult to talk about is you're like, but they're not good at offense. But they're also kind of good at offense. It feels like they shouldn't be, because the only guy, I think there's only one guy shooting over 36% from 3 on the team, and it's Dylan Brooks, who no one really trusts as a 3-point shooter.
Totally. Yeah.
And they're like they're bottom third of the league shooting everywhere. Like, they're bad at the rim, they're bad in mid-range, and they're bad from 3. And yet they're like 11th or 12th in offensive efficiency because they hammer the offensive glass, especially when they play with their 2 bigs, which has been talked about a lot. I don't know how much they're going to get away with Şengün Adams against the Warriors. They did it a little bit in that game a couple weeks ago. 7 games against Steph Curry. I don't know. That seems dicey to me, but maybe. But all the wings hit the glass too. Like everybody does it. So they rebound. They're number 1 in the league in offensive rebounding rate, number 1 in the league in second chance points, up near the top of the league in points in the paint. Like they are constantly making you feel them in the paint. That's a big part of it. And they never turn the ball over, or they rarely turn the ball over. And that's Van Vliet. Like he is one of the sort of quietly most important players in the bracket right now to me. Cause like I think the Golden State defense has been sensational since Jimmy got there, with Draymond making that late season surge, all that. And a lot of it is they turn you over. And when the Rockets have Van Vliet on the floor, they're really good at avoiding turnovers. And when they don't have him on the floor, they're not. And so can you avoid giving up the ball, get shots on goal, get the advantage in the possession game? That's if you can tell me by the end of the season, but end of the series, yeah, the Warriors are going to take 5 fewer shots a game than the Rockets every game. I think Houston probably advances, but I think that the challenge is going to be, can you keep that up against what this Warriors defense has turned into? And that's going to be pretty tricky.
Well, Dan, thank you for answering all our questions about what is looking like a very exciting playoffs. Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
You're done, except now you have to play Andrew versus the Beat, our weekly trivia show where Andrew goes head to head against a beat writer, or in this case, Dan Devine of Yahoo Sports. So this week, Andrew versus the Beat, all the questions are about the season we just saw, the 24-25 regular season. Okay. It just happened. It's probably going to be really easy questions. So how this works, Dan, you're going to give me a question or a number between 1 and 8, and it will correspond to a question. If you get it right, you'll get at least 2 points. If you get it wrong, Andrew will have a chance to steal for 1, and then we'll go back and forth until all the questions have been asked and answered. So to start us off, I just need a number between 1 and 8.
The answer is number 3, John Stark, superstar. Let's go.
Question number 3. There were 11 players who played in all 82 games this season, and we're going to name them all. So how this works, Dan, you're going to give me a name, then Andrew will give me a name, and we'll go back and forth until one of you stumbles. So 11 players who played in all 82 games this season.
We're going to start with Mikal Bridges.
Mikal Bridges, he's on the list. Andrew.
Chris Paul.
Chris Paul, he's on the list. Also, I mentioned him earlier. Cheater. Back to Dan.
Cheater.
No, I was going to do the same thing, but
you would have been the cheater then.
I would have been the cheater. Crap.
I know, that's how I feel now. It's like, those are 2 easy ones.
There was a rookie. I thought there was somebody. I'm going to be wrong. Stephen Castle.
Stephen Castle is not on the list. Yeah. Andrew, did you have any other guesses?
Goodness, no, I don't know.
No, you can't even throw out one name just for fun, Andrew.
Just feel like I'm going to be wrong.
Well, of course you will be.
It's okay to be wrong. I just was wrong just now.
Did Jalen Green do it?
He did. There you go. Jalen Green did it.
Very good.
Jaden McDaniels for the Wolves. Bub Carrington might have been the rookie you were thinking of.
That was the rookie I was thinking of. Damn.
Jared Allen, Malik Beasley, Harrison Barnes, 2 Spurs.
Harry B.
2 Spurs.
Wow.
Akil Alexander Walker. Actually, Julian Champagny, 3 Spurs.
3 Spurs.
And yet not the one that I named. That's incredible.
Not the one that you named. Okay, Andrew, board is yours.
Number 1.
Question number 1. In honor of dunksandthrees.com, great website, there was only one player this season who had 100 plus dunks and 100 plus made 3-pointers. Who was it? Only one guy in the entire league.
Wow. This is a great question.
Thank you.
I don't readily have.
I was very excited when there was only one guy who did it.
100 dunks is a lot of dunks.
It's a lot of dunks. A lot of dunks.
Shoot. Goodness. It's probably a big man. Did Jaren Jackson do it?
Jaren Jackson, he did not do it, Andrew.
Ooh.
So, Dan, you have a chance to steal.
I'm going to go with my gut here. Is it Victor Wembanyama?
So it's not, but after I did this question, I was like, wait a second, Wemby had to have done that. How did he not do that? And he had 91 dunks.
Seriously.
Before he got injured, unfortunately.
So does Andrew get a chance to steal back?
No, but if you guys want to throw out a name, if you guys had other names you were thinking of.
Is it OG Anunoby?
It is OG Anunoby.
OG. I went with my gut and I should have gone with my brain.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Now, actually, I'm looking here. Let's see what Jaren Jackson, because he definitely had enough threes.
There's no way he had enough dunks. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't even remember him dunking this year.
Lefty push shots.
Yeah.
The limit does not exist.
Do those count as dunks?
Yes.
So you think he had maybe one dunk? Why is his?
I bet you he had a very low number of dunks. I felt really dumb after saying it.
That's okay, Andrew. Don't feel bad.
To yourself. You don't have to feel that way. That's all right.
Yeah, you did a great job. It was a good guess. Okay. It was a good guess. He had 31 dunks. Okay, maybe not so good. Okay,
yeah.
Okay, back to
That's
Dan.
about how I felt. Yeah,
Dan, you control the board.
We're gonna go with number 7, Carmelo Anthony. Let's go.
Question number 7, Carmelo Anthony. Oh, speaking of dunks, this Eastern Conference team had fewer dunks than any other team in the league this season. So I didn't narrow it down for you.
Conference
so you have a 1 in 15 shot here.
That's true. I mean, my odds are incredible.
Eastern Conference. Fewest dunks in the league.
Fewest dunks in the league. The Nets.
Brooklyn Nets. That is incorrect. Andrew, any guesses?
Eastern Conference team with not many dunks.
Oh, okay. I didn't look it up. I have a guess though. After he's done.
After I get it wrong, exactly. You can guess.
I'm trying to rattle your cage, brother. After he gets it wrong, I'm in there like swimwear.
Well, hey, Dan, guess what? I looked it up. Brooklyn Nets, second fewest.
Wow.
All right.
That's how close you were.
I'm like pretty locked in, but I'm not all the way locked in. So there we go. That's the issue. I didn't lock in quite enough.
Andrew, any guesses?
I don't feel good about anything right now, if I'm being quite honest.
That's the vibe you want heading into the postseason. I feel good about nothing. I'm tired and exhausted and I hate everything.
I don't know. Miami? I don't know who it is.
Miami? No. Dan, do you have a guess?
Just based on shot profile. The Boston Celtics?
No, it was actually one of the teams we talked about earlier that was knocked out already. The Chicago Bulls.
Oh, okay.
Chicago Bulls. Not a lot of dunkers.
That makes sense.
Not a lot of dunkers. Okay, Andrew. Board is yours.
Number 2.
Question number 2. Where is it? Okay, only 2 players had their shot blocked more than 100 times this season. Who are they? And you get 1 point per correct answer. So only 2 players had their shot blocked more than 100 times this season.
Wow. 100 times blocked.
100 times blocked. More than 1 a game.
A lot of shots up to be able to get 100 shots blocked.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Don't give it away, Dan. You're giving them. You're helping them out. These are hints.
What about Giannis?
No, Andrew, incorrect. All right, Dan, you have a chance to steal. You could get 2 points here, Dan, if you could get both of these names.
If only I don't get this shot blocked. RJ Barrett.
RJ Barrett also
I like
no.
That. I like that answer, though.
I like the idea of it.
He gets blocked a lot. He's not an explosive leaper above the rim.
I wonder if that was because he ended up not playing a ton of games. Because that's the other thing. You kind of have to play a ton of games for this.
Yes. Oh, that's a good point. I was thinking just like, he was getting a lot of shots up when he was, but the volume.
Yes. I think one of these names will make sense to you. Jalen Green.
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense.
He did play all 82.
He played all 82. And the other one, Cade Cunningham.
Oh.
Cunningham was the other name.
So the funny thing about
Bitter rivals.
I think it might have been the old show that I did with Jake Fisher, No Cap Room, last season. And we talked, it was during the Pistons being awful. Yeah. And I was like, here's the worry. What if Cade is kind of just like a like she version of RJ Barrett. And because I think I was looking at the same kind of thing. I'm like the finishing numbers on the inside aren't good. He doesn't do it. He gets blocked a lot. And then, I got, deposited into a trash can with that take this year. But it's funny. They're always connected in my brain when we're doing a podcast.
All right, Dan, there are 4 questions left.
I'm going to
only down by 1.
I'm going to go number 8, J.R. Smith. Let's go.
Okay, number 8. There was only one player to make more than one heave this season, aka a shot beyond half court. That player also attempted 10 more heaves than the next closest player. Who was it?
Is it Nikola Jokic?
That is correct, Dan, for 2 points.
Man,
all right,
that's
Dan is on the board.
Too. Dang it. I only know that because my buddy Fred Katz is obsessed with it, and I've had many conversations with him about it.
Okay, Andrew, 3 questions left. Board is yours.
4.
Question number 4. There were 26 players who did not record a single free throw make this season. Name one.
Oof. Wow.
I mean, I'm being pretty generous here. 26 names. You only got to give me one, They just can't have made a free throw. They could have taken one, but they better not have made it.
No made free throws.
Yeah, so you both need to get on the court.
There's no minimum amount of minutes for this?
No minimum, but it's still a risk because even if you know a guy who hasn't played a few minutes, what if he got one free throw?
Oh my gosh. I am thinking about Isaiah Hartenstein not making a 3, but I'm not sure that I have memory.
I almost did a question about that and then remembered that you knew that and were obsessed with it.
Oh, I have been so obsessed with it. I might be the only person in the arena that is like fist pumping when he takes and misses a 3. Like I wanted him to get to 23 so bad,
but the volume.
Did not have the volume. This is me stalling because I have no answer to this question.
No answer. Well, I mean, how many players are there in the NBA? Probably over 400.
What about Markieff Morris?
Markieff Morris. Let me look down my list. Is Markieff Morris on this list? He is not, Andrew. So you missed the question. He at least had one free throw. So Dan, you can steal a point here.
Moses Brown.
Let me look down my list. He is not on the list as well. Now, some names you could have gotten. Some that will make sense. Joe Ingles, PJ Tucker. Kind of makes sense.
PJ Tucker.
How did I miss PJ Tucker?
James Johnson. Some of these like old vets at the very end of the bench kind of guys. Some other names that you'll know. Mac McClung. That would have been a great pull if you had gotten that.
My daughter asked me the other night, like, that guy that won the dunk contest, what's up with him? And I was like, I haven't really been keeping up on Osceola. I'm sorry.
Nothing. Not making free throws. Jahlil Okafor played 3 minutes this season. Did not.
He's been a G League stud this year. Old upside down years. Oh yeah.
Skal Labissiere played in the league this year. Vlatko Tankar. Amani Bates. Jacob Toppin.
Amani Bates didn't make a free throw?
He did not. I'm sorry.
Wow.
So those are just a sampling of the names. I'll be honest, a lot of these names never seen in my life, but I don't want to reveal my stupidity by saying them. So, okay. So Dan, you're ahead by 1. 2 questions left. 5 or 6.
I was extremely lost on where the point situation was, but I love it. We're going to go with number 5. Let's go.
Question number 5. The most frequently worn jersey number this season had 28 different players wear it at some point this season. What is that jersey number? Now, before you answer, Dan, you get to choose who answers first. You could make Andrew answer first, and then you could go higher or lower, or you could answer first and Andrew go higher or lower. However, if you make him answer and he gets it exactly correct, he would get a bonus point. Something to think about that.
You know what? I'm not trying to back my way into success. So I'm just going to go with it.
Wow. Okay.
Let's go with number 23.
Number 23. Andrew, would you like to go higher than 23 or lower than 23?
Oh, I was thinking 23 or 33, but I also thought about one. I'll go higher.
Correct number was 8.
Wow.
Which means Dan gets the points, commanding 4-1 lead.
That's bad.
That's bad for you. Real bad for you, Andrew.
Yeah,
actually the second most frequently worn jersey number, 0. 23 was up there. And so it was like 22 or 20 to 24. Okay, Andrew, last question. You can't win the week, but you could get it within 1, which would be really exciting. Okay,
Yay.
So Trae Young had 355 turnovers this season, which led the league. It is the 4th time Trae Young has recorded a 300-plus turnover season. That puts him 6th all-time for most 300-plus turnover seasons. Now, tied for the most are these two players who have each done that 7 times each. Now, you do get 1 point per correct answer.
That is a lot of turnovers.
It's a lot of turnovers.
300 plus turnovers.
300 plus.
But he's passing a lot. Somebody's got the ball a lot. Who would that be?
7 unique seasons with 300 plus turnovers.
What about Rajon Rondo?
Rajon Rondo, no. Interesting choice, Andrew.
I like it.
Choice. Dan, you have any guesses?
I think
You could
James
really
Harden.
put it to Andrew here. James Harden, yes. In fact, he got his 7th this season.
Shout out.
Congratulations.
Congrats. Can you name the other player?
Russell Westbrook?
Great guess. He does have 6. And I actually came up with this question thinking I'd trap Andrew into saying Russell Westbrook. But it is actually Magic Johnson. So the week ends. Dan, you did great. 5-1. 1 Andrew versus the beat. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I feel incredible. I didn't anticipate. I knew that I would be happy that I did the show. I didn't know that I would come out as a winner. This is huge for me heading into a pretty raucous and busy couple of months. So this is incredible. Thank you so much.
We are a podcast of extremes because you either leave feeling really good about yourself or feeling absolutely terrible and wondering if the fans of your team are going to come and attack you and tell you how dumb you are. Yeah, one or the other.
Hey, that's my secret, Captain. I always have people doing that to me. So really, there's no downside to it. I will say, I think when I think about those polls and those extremes, I'm going to think about Andrew being like, "Oh God, I don't know. I have a number," and it's like, it's all confetti. We can't squeeze it too tight. We got to let it just fly around the room, man. It's going to be all right.
Well, now Dan does 3 things. He's a writer, he's a podcaster, and he's a trivia winner. So go check him out at Yahoo Sports. Dan, thanks so much for coming on.
My pleasure, guys. I had a blast. Thanks for having me.
Huge thanks to Dan Devine for coming on the show today. Hey, if you leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, we'll read it on the show. We don't have any to read, so please get after it. Leave us 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. You can also comment on the show on Spotify. And please subscribe to our show on YouTube and leave comments on the YouTube page. You can watch this show. So if you really just want to watch me in agony this week with Dan Devine on trivia, you can watch it on your TV if you'd like. I hope you guys have a great day. Enjoy the playoffs, and we'll talk to you guys again next week.